Good morning, Barbie.
Hi, Krish. How are you?
I don't see you yet. Look what I'm wearing.
There we go. Yes, I see that.
I thought it was appropriate for today's topic.
Yeah.
We'll give it a couple minutes, see if anybody's going to show up. I've got several people always that say they're going to, and I put out a lot
Yeah,
of
we've
motions and
we've got three other people so far.
oh, nice. Well, nice to not see you, but know you're there. Let me see. I've got five people here. So if you want to click on your
Cheryl,
video, great. If not,
Michelle's got a great big smile on her face.
you're
And
actually
we've got
seeing them?
somebody.
I'm not even seeing anybody. I see you and that's it, which is good, which is good. I'm happy to see you.
I'm special. I don't know what to tell you.
Well,
And
what kind of special
team,
are
if
you?
that's how it's
Special has
pronounced.
special has a lot of connotations. All right. I'm also getting excuse me.
I know,
Good
morning
morning.
coffee
Good
stuff.
morning to you too, Cheryl. Nice to have you along. So let me explain a little bit the shirt I'm wearing. This is the shirt I died in. So I thought it was appropriate for today's topic, which is preparing for the afterlife and the death experience. And this is literally the shirt that I died in. It was sheared off me by paramedics. And Barb, who is here with us today, is the one that stitched it up like Frankenstein's monster. So it looked like it was all scarred, which I love. And so I thought I'd wear that today, which was spontaneous. I didn't know what I was going to wear. And I looked and I was like, okay, I'll grab this. Clear that throat out. Morning coffee throat. So death and afterlife is a big topic. So I've got a big book for it.
I guess you do.
So this is my first copy of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And I got this when I was in my, I don't know, early 30s, I think. And it's obviously a bit big to read during bedtime reading time. So I also got this one. It's a little bit easier, a little more compact. Now, I have not read this book since before my death experience. And I lost my memory for a while through all that and everything else, but I'm reading it again, kind of preparing for this talk and workshop today, among several others, and I am blown away. I mean, what is contained within this Tibetan Book of the Dead is absolutely mind-boggling, amazing, clear, beautiful, concise instructions and preparations for how to experience the death experience and what you experience afterwards, how to navigate through it. In many regards, I feel like this is kind of premature because I'm already opening up so many sanskars, so many ideas that I definitely want to do a part 2, 3, or 4 for this topic, just Tibetan Book of the Dead, to share what it has, and Egyptian Book of the Dead. Real quick, let me say this. Bijal could not be here today because she has a funeral to go to, which I thought was also kind of timely, right? And she wants to say hello to everybody. And also, I want to acknowledge for a moment the diversity that we've had in this group. Catholics, Christians, somebody who used to be Mormon, and I think it's wonderful that we have so many different perspectives, and everyone that joins in here understands and appreciates that all this stuff that's about these various topics only enhances their own faith and their own particular path and dedication and doesn't ever compromise it. So let's be appreciative of that and acknowledge that whatever feelings we may have against a religion that we wish to be along with, let's keep in mind that it led us to where we are. It had a big part in what we became. And as I often quote Yeshua the Christ, seeking you shall find, knocking it shall be open to you. He's inviting you to seek and search and implore deeper, to query, not just accept what is given to you. And that is exactly what I did. And as a matter of fact, my first religious experience was Christian, was Christ-based, and it was absolutely profound. And it set me on a lifelong dedication and journey through in my spirituality. It led me to where I'm at. Let me try to get the top of my head and trying to keep the shirt and the top of that in there. I can't do both. I'm not tall. I'm not cameras, Anyway, so let's be mindful that every religion, well, not everyone, the basic ones that we have in this world are very sincere and very honest, have a lot to offer all of us. And even if we don't subscribe to them any longer, typically it's more the organizations that we end up turning away from. And let's keep in mind again that they were catalysts to lead us to where we are today. Now, let's get back into the topic of death and afterlife, preparing. It is a multidimensional experience. Again, this giant book is filled with, it's too big to be able to like show you why it's so wonderful to have. And it was in some of the slides that I just picked up to a random page. So it has all this artwork and also the text within it as well. And it is such a wonderful, I have it on display in my house. And the things I have on display in my house, which you'll see everywhere you look in my home, is to keep me focused. I want to have my mind constantly returning to spiritual concepts and my agenda. I don't want to ever forget that. And so this is why many people decorate around their home with images of their savior, their guru, their master, their path, etc., because it is a form of remembrance, which is critical as we prepare for the dying experience. As I shared in the email notification and some of the posts that I put up, that death can be very traumatic. No matter how much we prepare or think we're okay with it or understand it, the event itself is very alarming. Now, of course, we have a multitude of near-death experiences all over the internet. They're talking about they see white light, they see God, all these kind of things, which is accurate and true and great. Something you're looking at, I'm kind of wanting
Yeah,
to see.
Cheryl wants to know the name of the book again.
Oh, well, again, I
Can you
wouldn't
see
recommend that one
those?
for reading.
Can you see those?
Their name of book. So I'm reading the Tibetan Book of the Dead, translated by Robert Thurman. This is a good copy. Now I'm in the process of no, so this is the one I've read a couple times throughout my life since I got it in the 90s. It is just called the Tibetan Book of the Dead, translated by Robert Thurman. That to me is very important. I have a knack, and I put a lot of work into finding books that are accurate translations, which, by the way, is very hard to do with English translators. They usually modify and change things. Goes way back to the East India Trading Company, the way the Britons kind of culturally did cultural genocide to India and so many other regions. And so, unfortunately, we got to be very careful. I've learned how to determine safe translation versus negative ones. And again, because we don't want to be interpreted, we want as accurate as we can. And yet, if it's a straight translation, you can't understand it. It's going to be way over your head. So again, for example, my Bhakti books, I have copies of the Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, and in Sanskrit, which I can't read or understand. So translated into Hindi, it's removed some. Translated into English, it's removed a lot, and it's hard to find anything that's translated into English from the Bhagavatam that's accurate and good. Because again, if it's translated straight across, you kind of won't really get it. It's wonderful and it's adorable and it's lovely, but it's not that it's so cerebral, it's hard to understand, that it's so fascinating, it's so alluring. And so what I find is ones that are commented on by saints, enlightened personalities that wrote the commentaries on them. Let me see if there's another message here. Oh, she says, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Barb, for pointing out the question, because I will always, get lost in a little diatribe. So try to stay on track and be attentive to that. Now, again, I think this is very important as we share this topic, because again, this copy of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, I have a couple issues with it as well. I don't think this Thurman man is adding his own interpretation necessarily, but again, when you're translating from a foreign language into English, sometimes the baby goes out with the bathwater, and sometimes some of the translations are lost. And as I do, I've got to be very careful, as I do within the portal, to explain concepts and things in ways that people can understand, in analogies and metaphors that fit them without losing the concept that I'm trying to preserve. As a matter of fact, let's begin briefly here with a quick passage from within the portal, which again, I think is very appropriate for today's topic. This is the chapter Resurrection, which I think is the third chapter of my book. I'm on the other side. I'm dead. My body's lying in a coma in a hospital, and I am on the other side, and I'm fully conscious and aware. I'm having a dialogue. My consciousness was aware and understanding. The presence was ochre, warm and soothing. As I wondered and desired answers to the mystery I experienced, the presence uploaded my situation to me. You're in a celestial dimension between life and death. All souls come here for a period of reflection between lifetimes. It is a place of rest and thought, and insight. My curiosities are thought. Is this the Akashic dimension, where all things past, present, and future, and all true knowledge is stored? That is another name for this, yes. Any names and explanations you receive here will be in terms you are familiar with. So if I were a Christian, it would be heaven, something like that. Heaven is a final celestial abode. Heaven is a final celestial abode. Your Western religions know this temporary space is purgatory. Buddhists know it as the Bardo, and the Eastern spiritual path you follow knows as the Akashic. I'm providing you with knowledge in terms you can understand. This is temporary. You have life to live. Your final destiny in this life is not complete. Can I choose not to return? Boy, did I want that. I didn't want to go back. I was totally at peace there. No, you've not completed your soul's full journey. You have great knowledge of this already. You have full acceptance that souls live life after life until they complete the journey of the soul to a divine state of being. You have made great progress, but must complete the final stages of complete and humble surrender to the divine to break free of the material realm forever. Pardon me. I got to repeat that. You understand that I never feel like I wrote this book. It was just kind of told through me. And I just think that's a sentence worth repeating. Akashic agents are saying to me, you have made great progress, but must complete the final stage of complete and humble surrender to the divine to break free of the material realm forever. That pretty much sums up our purpose of life. So I want to repeat that. Continuing, I have lived infinite lifetimes, have been close countless times, yet I have never attained divine and permanent illumination. Every time I start anew, without knowledge or memory of prior progress, I do not want to live on as a human in the material world. I want to become pure spirit. Please help me. You will receive insights here that will serve you well. You must make the most of your time here. See where you've been, where you could have gone, and how to progress. The past is bygone, the future obscure. Only the present is in your hands. Will I remember and retain what I am shown here to help me once I return? Some will be lost, some will remain foggy. Transferring from this Akashic space back to matter, so will compromise some of what is gained here. You will gain much clarity in the knowledge you already have. You will learn much from the life review and life preview you experience. Then talk about the life preview and review. I want to share that because this is my awareness while I was on the other side during my death event, which, as some of you know, I was there for 9 days while I was in a coma, and this went on and it goes on to this day. I can connect at will, and it's kind of always present. And this is relevant to today's topic. My ongoing connection with the other side, the Akashic space, what I refer to as the portal, it isn't by chance. It's because I sustained it. I put in the work prior, during, and after my death event. This is what the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Egyptian Book of the Dead teach you. They give you instructions on how to prepare your mind to deal with a death event so you don't freak the hell out. Instead, you can kind of maintain, yeah, you know, I'm trying to mind my language. You can see that. I can get colorful at times. And so you can retain awareness while you're on the other side, because where you navigate, how you navigate will determine where you're coming back to. Now, as I said in my last email notice, it doesn't mean you can just choose wherever you want to go. You have options based on the way you live your life. Obviously, if you're an evil son of a bitch, you're not going to be able to choose to go to heaven, okay? Neither can you choose to come back and live a glorious life and be famous and good looking and rich and all those kind of things either. So the way you live your life is going to create the options you have after you die for your afterlife. But there are some variability as well, which the Book of the Dead's, the books of the dead teach us that, for example, I'm trying to simplify this. You may get there and Akashic agents, angels, whatever you want to call them, may say to you, well, you've accumulated this kind of karmas, these kind of sanskars, and these kind of good benefits. A celestial abode, a heavenly abode, back to earth for being healthy and comfortable, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, being virtuous, whatever. Or you don't have any of those options. Now, let's face it, people that aren't doing any spiritual work prior to their death event, they're not really seeing any options. They're getting what they get, because in order to have these options and be able to retain them and be present them and interact with them, you got to be able to do the work prior. Otherwise, again, you're just kind of in a nebulous state of your mind. Hold on. The Book of the Dead, trying to remember the exact translation, which is called the Bardo Thodol in Sanskrit. The Bardo Thodol means the guide. I can't get the exact. It's like 7 words. Bottom line is the Bardo Thodol in English would be the book to guide you through the in-between state, in the in-between phase. That's kind of a long, it's kind of a long explanation. That's literally what it is. It teaches you what you'll experience after death so that you aren't shocked by it, so that you can retain some sensibility. Like I said, so you don't freak out. It's not just to ease you into the experience so that while you're dying, you know that it's not an ending. Most people that are, especially in the East, they fully accept that life, that death is no ending. But again, the various things that you may see could just be more than you could possibly handle. It's a lot to process. The more conscious, cognizant retention and stability we have, the more we can interact with it. So the Tibetan books and Egyptian books of the dead are preparing you for what you will see, what you can interact with, and how to navigate through it. So much of it is to prepare you in life, the way you live your life, the practices and exercises you're doing. I know that in many lifetimes through my past life regression work that I remember that I've done I've had several lives where I was doing very conscious work, preparing for retention of my conscious knowledge, etc., for my next life experience. Generally, your identity and your knowledge and your mind, which is part of the material phenomena, not the spiritual phenomena, your mind, your consciousness is part of the material phenomena, is deleted. It's all there, all your past lives, all your knowledge, all in there, like on a hard drive, or like on a chip somewhere, like in your hard drive, and yet you can't access it. Again, in a very similar way. We put in the work and the time, we can usually find our old lost files. They're in there somewhere, right? It's a lot of work, but they're down there somewhere. Everything has a little etched kind of etched shadow there that still exists, so we can access it. We can preserve this by the way that we live through specific meditation and preparation practices, by getting involved with the machinations and the mechanics of it, and is what the books of the dead teach us, is to prepare for these particular events. We want to gain the knowledge to be able to retain this. We want to be able to move forward, not back. Again, the downside is, the scary part is, if we don't do the work, we're kind of get what we get. We have a few options. There may be a few options to be had, but we're not going to be able to choose that. We're going to get what we get if we can't interact with it. There are, according to the Book of the Dead, I'm going to speak it from this angle, which I support. There are 8 dimensions of hell, 8 dimensions of celestial abodes, what we might know as heavenly abodes. And there's the in-between state, which is here on earth in the material plane, samsara, Maya. And there's also the ghost realms. All of these are temporary. Only in Western religions is it either an all or nothing. They have purgatory too. So, but other than that, it's heaven or hell is kind of an eternal situation. Within the Eastern paths, all these are temporary. There is ultimate final destination, which would be the divine abode. And that's what we're all striving for. The hellish abodes are all temporary. There's no way that God can ever turn his back on you and not love you enough to always want to give you a chance to become divinized. But time is of no consequence. When you're in a hellish abode, every moment feels like an eternity. And there are hot ones and there are cold ones. If I'm going to go, I prefer a cold one because I like cold temperatures. I don't like heat, right? And some people are the opposite. I know a lot of people that love hot and they can't stand cold. And I think they're freaky and weird. They're probably left-handed people. Probably like Rocky Road ice cream too. Yeah, everybody knows how I joke about that. So these 8 dimensions of heavenly abodes and hellish abodes are also have subdivisions of them. They're go from very severe to less severe to more severe, etc. And so they all have subdivisions of them as well. So how many are there total? Probably infinite. Doesn't matter. The bottom line is this: we want to avoid all of them. We don't want hellish abodes, obviously. We don't want heavenly abodes either, because they're all temporary. When you do a heavenly abode, celestial abode, then you use up all your good action karmas that you stored and accumulated. And when they're gone, you got to reincarnate again. You're back to like amoeba state. You may be a human, but most likely back to like begin like insect and work your way up, because you've used up your karmic bank account, you could say. This is what the books of the dead are teaching you, that you're investing. So the bottom line is what the Tibetan books of what both books of the dead are teaching you is, never mind any of that. You don't want any of them. You don't want to come back to the world either. We want divinity. We want complete union with divinity. These books are teaching us these navigations, because they want us to have all the knowledge, not just some of it. God's not there to tell you what to do or how to do it. Gives you the option. Free will is a divine part of grace, to have free will. I think most of us assume that the purpose of endowing us with free will is because when we choose to go to God, then it becomes more powerful, more potent, more loving, more secure, rather than just being automatically conditioned to do so. We work for it. And everything we work for tastes better, feels better, and has better power to it. So again, the conundrum is then, if we don't want any of these abodes, why is this book teaching us how to navigate through them? Because most of us are not going to be qualified for the divine abode. The qualification is simple: complete and total loving surrender. Real simple. Harder to do than we think, though, because we have all these attachments to our material existence, our body, our mind, our intellect, our people, our pets, all these attachments, our status. These are what bind us to the material phenomena. These are what bind us. And all those other abodes, hellish and celestial, are part of the material phenomena. They're the more ethereal parts, subtle parts, but they're still part of the material phenomena. The earth plane is the dense physical realm. The other ones are also part of it, but they're just above and below it, and they're also still part of the same dimension. Since most of us are not going to be qualified to attain divinity, we do want to be prepared. We want to try to prepare and go towards that at least. So that's what the books of the dead are allowing us to do. They're giving us the insights. What are my glasses? Sorry. I'm a stupid human. And again, the main point is that while we hear these near-death experiences all over the internet, and I'm in that culture because I've written the book and all these kind of things, but of course I go against the grain. What my book does is expose not just a very narrow view. And I'm explaining in that very brief intersection there that what you're experiencing on the other side is based on what you perceive things to be. And of course, somebody that is Buddhist may go see Buddha on the other side and think that that's it. That's the only that exists. That's the righteous, that's the only path there is. I saw it when I was on the other side. the Akashic space, the representatives within the bardo, within the other side, within the portal, as I'm mentioning in that brief excerpt, are able to organize and orchestrate your death experience based on what your perceptions are. They speak to you in language that you can understand, as long as it's true and correct. It makes no difference how we come to God, as long as we do. Through Christ, through the Buddha. Well, the Buddha is agnostic, so that's not going to work. Sorry about that. Through Krishna, through Christ, through any truly God-related spiritual path. The path we take is less relevant to the fact that we do it with our heart and with our love. And again, getting back to the books of the dead, to navigate through this rather confusing terrain of celestial representatives, atmospheres, terrains, experiences, can be very jarring. Anything we do in life, the more familiar we are with it, the less intimidating it is. Everything you fear, we fear the unknown. If we're going on a job interview and we know we're not getting the job, then we're not very nervous about it, are we? We don't even want the job, really. We're not that very nervous about it. The more you want it, the more nervous you are, right? Because you have something at stake, something that you desire, and you don't know what the result's going to be. If you already know you're going to get it, then you're pretty relaxed. We fear the unknown. All fear is based in the unknown, what we can't predict. So again, this is the preparation process. By being educated thoroughly on the death event and experience, we become more familiar with it. So when we're confronted with it, we're not completely shocked. We are kind of prepared. Oh, I heard about this. And as I explained with my experience within the portal, I was just not alarmed, shocked, upset during my death experience. I was not only at peace, but as I mentioned in here, that the Akashic Agents offered me many different features. And I asked them, so where's the white light, the passed on loved ones and all that? And they said, well, these are given to people that basically need this to comfort them through the death event experience because we were traumatic. And they asked me, do you need anything like that? And I was like, no, I really don't. I was completely content with what it was. I understood death, I accepted death, and I wasn't at odds with it. This is because of the work that I had done throughout my life, being a mystic and spiritualist since I was a child, and multiple lifetimes, be able to retain some of this consciousness. The benefit is extraordinary. What I'm always encouraging people to do is just that, to prepare, put in the time. It doesn't mean we can't live our material lives. Pay our bills, go to work, have love, have family, experience all these kind of things. It means that we also add into that, same as we go to the gym and work out and go to the movies or whatever else, add in spiritual practices that are dedicated to your afterlife experience. That's what spirituality is all about, right? What we're trying to attain, which is to go to heaven, avoid hell, attain one union with the divine. But do we put in the effort? Do we put in the work? Do we put in the time? This is the cornerstone of the work that I try to present with people and try to teach to my private students. That I'm trying to encourage them to put in the time, dedicate actual time, do more formal spiritual work, not just conceptually, but to physically show up. Again, temple, church, whatever it may be. And then when you physically show up, to also mentally be present and accessible. If I go to temple and my mind is thinking about what's going on at home or at work, well, then I'm not really present. My mind will not be there. And yet, if I'm at home, I can absorb my mind in divine things. The physical location is less important. Physical location makes it a little bit easier to immerse myself in a spiritual environment. Again, I'm going to give you examples of doing the work that's necessary. There are many, many ways. We don't have to go to temple necessarily, but it helps. It's advisable to occasionally go to something more formal. what I call satsang, spiritual association, when I go to temple and spend time with other devotees within my organization, within my path, and connect at an altar and an environment that immerses me into this experience. Simultaneously, again, my path is also at home, wherever I'm at, taking a walk in my satsang room that I've dedicated to my meditations. We want to make this a part of our lifestyle. And we can keep in mind in our consciousness, when I'm preparing for death, I'm preparing for the afterlife, not in some morose, macabre way, but in some beautiful way, that I am acknowledging that I am going to eventually, at some point, physically pass away and die. But my spirit, my soul, my conscience is going to live on. Now, I don't know if this is the right space to go into the actual details that are within this. Again, it's a very wonderful and complicated book. I don't know if I'm just flipping beta. There you go. It's just some very small print. The books of the dead are very detailed. Who's there, what's there, why it's there. Very detailed. To prepare you for that, and so you can choose the right directions. The details can be overwhelming. And again, this is why we're doing it, to be more familiar with the death experience and event. Prepare us to take it a little bit easier. Prepare in life to be present in death. One of my favorite anecdotes from the Upanishads, two sages are taking a walk, taking a stroll, two sages that are good friends, two enlightened masters. One of them turns to the other and says, well, you're an enlightened master. Tell me, what's the strangest thing you've ever seen? And the other one says, the fact that people are living their lives completely oblivious to death. They're going towards death every moment, every day, and they're oblivious to it. They're not thinking about it. They're not conscious of it. This just blows my mind how they're not aware of this, how they're just living their lives without conscious of it. Reminding us again that the benefit of this adds significance to our lives. We all are aware that that which does not kill us makes us stronger. That when we endure some type of tragedy or traumatic event, near-death experience, etc., that we expand, we become more, not less. That which does not kill us makes us stronger, makes us more expansive, makes us more aware. This is what the meditation on a death event can do for you. To accept your mortality as a human being. And be mindful that I'm not a human being having a spiritual experience. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. To add this mindfulness into our lives each and every day. The books of the dead are very schematic, very detailed. Again, teaching you the different abodes, the different dimensions, what you're going to see there, who's going to be there, the representatives, the spiritual agents that exist within these realms to guide you. Some of them are going to mislead you, take you someplace that's going to confuse you. You want to stay away from them. They're not evil. They're just doing their job. This is part of what they do. And there's also maybe alongside of them, Akashic agents, angels, guides that will take you someplace more benevolent to show you profound things. We have free will. It's endowed to us from our creator. Well, let me rephrase that creator. I got to back off from that term because in Eastern philosophy, there is no creation. The soul is eternal. It's never begun. It's never ended. So God is not senior to you. You're as old as God is. Young, old, whatever you want to put it. We to be mindful of this throughout our lives. And again, the point is to not just prepare as we begin to die, because we never know when we're going to die. I mean, when I had my death experience, I certainly didn't know that day. when I woke up that morning, got my motorcycle out and went to work that day and walked out to go to the street to the clinic, got hit in the face by a truck. I had no idea. And if I'd known that, I would have stayed in bed, that's for sure. If we have the benefit of being understanding and being able to prepare for our death because we're dying slowly, we're through an illness or something like that, that's tremendous. But again, we don't know that. And again, the preparation is because when we're in those last stages, even if we know when we're going to die from an illness, where our mind automatically goes to is our attachments, our loved ones, our pets, our responsibilities, because when we're gone, we're naturally conditioned throughout our lives. We've conditioned ourselves, and the world has helped condition us to think that what's going to happen when I'm gone. I mean, I worry about that. I got my little Chow Chow Bang, my cat here. That's got his own chapter in the book as well. He's sitting right here at my feet. He likes to come to class. And if that's what's on my mind as I cross over, well, then that's my attachment. That's kind of where I'm going to. What our mind is absorbed in throughout our lives is what our minds are going to be absorbed in when we go over the other side. It's quality time, what we attach to. Again, with free will, we have the opportunity, we have the power to direct our conscious to what we want to think, what we want to attach to. We're not automatically default going to be attached to something. That's going to happen, but we can choose to be attached to something else. Part of the cornerstone of my own addiction recovery, as recovering old dope fiend, is that I realized at some point that as an addictive personality, I'm going to be addicted to something. I can't stop that. I'm an all in or all out kind of guy. But what I am going to be addicted to, I can choose. My addiction pathology is satisfied with anything that I'm addicted to. It wants to fix it. It wants to be extreme on something. But I can choose what to give it. And so I chose being a father, being spiritual, being addicted to my work of helping, assisting people. My addiction was satisfied. My attachment was satisfied. And yet I chose to be what attached to. I quieted down my addictive mind by giving it something to be addicted to, but I appeased my soul and my spirit and my conscience by being addicted to something that was productive and worthwhile, something that I could be proud of. Nothing is good in extremes. But if I'm going to do something extreme, why not choose something healthy rather than unhealthy? That's one of the first areas the books of the dead are reminding us, is our fields of attachment. To craft, shape, take an active role in our fields of attachment, rather than just letting them occur. The world and your life circumstances are going to condition you, brainwash you to have attachments. What I'm so reluctant. Sometimes when I see someone on YouTube from over my morning coffee, that's when the only time like I'm kind of like cruising around, like killing some time. YouTube comes up, has my feed, which is different than your feed, because and I might see something in my morning coffee that I want to click on that I'm curious about, and then I think, you know what? If I click on this, I'm gonna get hammered with these kind of videos now. It's gonna algorithm me, and so while I want to see this, I don't think I want to see it 10,000 times or things like it. And so I will refrain from clicking on something simply because I don't want that automatic feed, right? This is an example of how the world conditions us, our collective consciousness, which is another class we gave a few weeks ago. It's up to us to choose and add in. Hold on, let me grab my glasses. Something there. Looks like you're done talking. I'm sorry. There was a message there. Somebody have a message? Something about done talking, lower your hand. I'm in way. I don't know. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'll try to remember to see if there's any questions there. I'm not getting any notices that there are. So pardon me if I'm not always too adept at and attentive to those kind of things. Let me double check. There we go. Turn that one off right now. So this is central to the Buddhist philosophy about the field of attachment, central to Sanatana Dharma Hindu philosophy, all Eastern paths, and Western as well, that what we attach to is what we're striving to attain, what we're going to attain. We need to take an active role in our attachments. This is being conscious of our death experience by taking an active role, a heartfelt role, not with our automatic mind, with our pleasure senses, but with our heart. What do I want to be attached to? As something of a hedonist in my earlier phases of life, I was attached to whatever came my way. I was a poor kid on the streets. Whatever I could get, that's what I was attached to. I was grateful to be able to eat sometimes. So whatever I got was okay with me. As I matured and as I became more secure and stable in my material life, I had more options to choose what to be attached to and who. Again, in my youth, what girl was I involved with? Pretty much anybody that was willing who would take me. I wasn't very selective. And I went out with some very crazy, and I don't mean crazy like crazy, I mean crazy like crazy. Not the good kind of crazy. And part of my motivation in my field of attachments as I matured and I got cleaned off of drugs straight out of my life was I wanted to be involved with somebody good, of quality, good people, quality people. In order to do that, I had to straighten myself out. I had to be quality people. Otherwise, quality people wouldn't have anything to do with me. Surround myself. I wanted to have what I couldn't have, which is quality things and quality people. I chose to reframe myself, reinvent myself as something better, a new improved 2.0 version. To develop my spiritual perspectives, not just allow them to be brought to me. Again, YouTube's going to give me that feed, but it's up to me what to click on. So I can also, if I click on for cerebral, philosophical, and spiritual concept, well, I can get more feed on those. Guess what? I don't click on those too much either because most of those are crap. There's some good out there. I push them out there. Again, to hammer this point, which I'm very, very redundant on, is I want to encourage people to take an active role in what they're attaching to. Yes, attached to your family, your loved ones. You do need to serve that role and do that with your heart. No shame in that. As Yeshua the Christ said, he who loves his father or mother more than me will not come to me. He's not worthy of me. He's not telling you not to love your mother or father. Because in another parable, he's saying, you've got to love your mother and father. Make them sacred. Honor them. What we're being reminded by sages and gurus and saints is to prioritize. In my heart, I love God and Guru. That's number one. In the world, I love my son. He's an amazing guy. All right. And I love being a father. I love it. I've done a good job with it because I enjoy it. They're separate phenomena. I do not, speaking of, my son just now texted me. I do not have to compromise my spiritual path to live within the world. I do have to make some compromise to my worldly path to be spiritual. Again, to make the formal time commitment mentally and emotionally. It is worthwhile, even if it's just out of curiosity, to appreciate the content within the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I'm sorry, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Egyptian Book of the Dead is hard to get, and I am not satisfied with the translations that I found. Again, we're talking about a time when the Egyptians were not writing in written word; they're writing more in images, and so it's kind of hard to interpret. The Shraddha, the Sanatana Dharma Hindu Book of the Dead, Same thing. I'm on a quest. I'm trying to find a good translation version of that. I've not found one yet. I won't grab some just anything. If I can't do it right, I'm not going to bother doing it. To be continued on that. I'll update you as soon as I find, which I'm pretty relentless. I'm going to find one. They all explain similar things. The different levels and phase and dimensions. I can't emphasize enough the emphasis that they put on to be very aware, because the death event can be very shocking. And again, not to contradict all these near-death experiencers, which I'm part of the culture of, and people who know me well know that in many ways the culture annoys me. They are so narrow-minded with it. Because they see evidence and proof that there's life after death, they're completely at peace and okay with everything now. And see, I'm the opposite. I'm like, that's terrifying. Life is after death. Death is no ending whatsoever. And I want it to stop. I don't want to keep reincarnating and keep doing this. I want to get it done. I want to be one with God. I want to be joined with divine love. I don't want to be doing this. Coming back for an eternity, which I already have, and so have you, is not a pleasurable notion to me. I've been there, done that with everything, and so have you. I want to complete my soul's journey to divinity, have union with the divine. Books of the Dead teach us how to have union with any one of the dimensions. It's like a shopping trip. You can choose from what's on the menu, and you can prepare for that. There are souls that work many, many lifetimes, sometimes thousands, sometimes millions of lifetimes, to become deities, to become Brahma, creator God, which will last for millions of years. But when it's done, right back where you started. This is what the books of the dead are explaining to us. They're explaining to you what you're going to get and how it works, so that you know to make a good choice. Again, when I go to the restaurant, I like going to Chinese restaurants, and they always have these complicated menus. And I like the combo ones because the combo ones are easy, like gives you 4 or 5 different things, but no substitutions. You cannot, well, I want these 3 entrees, but I don't want this one. Nope. Then order it separately. They're very clear on the menus what you're going to get. They describe what's in each dish and what the appetizers are. I like those, again, I like those combo platters that come with the appetizer, the entree, all of it together in one little thing, right? They're very clear so that we know what we're getting and how to get it. This is essential. We don't want to take this for granted. The books of the dead are worthy of our time for several reasons. One, it'll entertain the hell out of you. It's really curious. It's really interesting. It's fun to read. If you like cerebral contexts that are exotic, unusual, different, and very sensible and logical, not some kind of magical analogies that are just fantastical. They're very logical, very scientific. If you like those kind of things, then I encourage you to read them just because you'll enjoy it. Whether I even believe in it or not, I'm going to enjoy it because it's fun, because I like that kind of stuff. It's also beneficial to spend time with, because you will pick up, whether you subscribe particularly to the details specifically that they're teaching you about the dimensions and the agents that are there, you will learn about the death process, the creation process, the life process. You will see philosophically, spiritually, celestially, in many different ways. You'll see, it'll activate regions of your mind and thought that you might not have otherwise. It makes you think. Much of what I do here on Saturday mornings is what I'm trying to do is provoke thought in any way that I can. All the topics to me just mean one singular thing: to attain and go towards divine love conscious with love and surrender. And yet, I talk about all these different paths, all these different subjects and topics. To me, I'm talking about one topic in all these different versions. Again, this is our associate. Let me ask if anybody's got a question. Give a chance for that. looks like we're talking symbol. I don't know what that means. I keep getting this little, Zoom did just those some weird banners. I don't know what the hell that means. All right.
I keep
If you
seeing a little
would,
hand come up. This little hand comes up and then
yeah,
it
no,
goes
and I think
away.
sometimes it just comes up randomly on so it does weird stuff. Anyway, I'd like to ask those of you who are kind of new, if you could in the chat box, tell me where you found me. I'd like to know where you heard from, where you heard about this, and also if you could include your email, I'd be happy to invite you. I don't hammer with emails, I don't give away email addresses. I simply send out 2 notices a week, one on Thursday, one on Friday, usually for these workshops, so people can attend if they want to. I'd appreciate your email and hear particularly about where you heard from me and what made you join today. Again, the community. What we're doing here is associating. We are spending time. This is the true meaning of satsang. Sat is the more spiritual end of the spectrum of our consciousness and experience. And sang means association. Satsang, to associate with spiritual things. And this is what we're doing here on Saturday mornings. Is to associate, to expand our mind and consciousness and make us focus and give us time to invest in spiritual concepts and topics. And again, I mentioned about the diversity of our group. Whether no one's being converted in anything here, we're here to share ideas and to enhance our own journey and path so we can complete that journey. I encourage you again to get to know the death event and the death experience. We're all going to die. You can't avoid it. It's going to happen. What you do with it is up to you. What we don't want to do is wait till the last minute and then realize, as so many people do, the things they could or should have done. The main event that automatically occurs in the death event is, again, our attachments. We think what we could or should have done. We get the past life review, our life flashing before our eyes in those last moments. That's universal. That's standard procedure. SOP, standard operating procedure in the death event, and life review. We're all going to get it. Like Ebenezer Scrooge with the Ghost of Christmas Past. We're getting this so we can learn what we could have done better and what we can choose to do in our afterlife experience. And as we reincarnate or go back to wherever we're going. Akashic agents, angels, however you want to term them, are exposing you to these things not to punish you, not to make you have regret and feel bad, to help you learn from your mistakes, to make a choice with your free will, to choose to lean to a different direction and expand. Again, this is what the preparation is all about. How can we spend time, invest time? Every minute is going into your karmic sanskar bank account. Every minute you spend on earth and in your consciousness is going into your karmic bank account, which is going to be what you withdraw from in your afterlife experience. Whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. You're going to reap what you shall sow. I'm seeing type here. Thank you, Cheryl. A lot of loss and present for all three. Thank you for that. Let's elaborate on that for a moment. That's a good point. Thank you, Cheryl. Let me jump over to that slight hybrid of this conversation. Indeed, as you learn about the death experience, spending time with these concepts and these contexts, it also helps you being accepting and understanding of loss, other people's death experiences. It's funny how also generally at a funeral, you'll hear people say, well, they're in a better place. We hear this all the time. Well, then why are we bothering to be here at all if it's always a better place? If it's automatically a better place, why would we even bother to want to be here, right? I want to be in a better place all the time. You can't just die and be in a better place. You got to work for it. You got to earn it. So again, understand the death experience can ease our minds with those that we lose and to take an active role in helping them prepare as a counselor and a crisis counselor. I've had not a lot. I've worked with families and parents that lost children. Nothing is more devastating than that. Your life is over in so many ways for good. You don't bounce back from that. You find an acceptance so you can coexist with it, but you're changed forever. It's always going to be dark and shadowed. But indeed, if we learn and spend time with the death event and death concept, we become better prepared for it ourselves, and also be able to accept and understand and accept the loss of experience here on the earth plane. I think that's very important because, again, our attachments, what we attach our mind to, is what we become. And if we have this inside understanding, we can share this in the way we live, whether we're preaching at somebody or not. If we can engage in conversation about life and death and what these things mean, then we're helping other people prepare as well. We're paying it forward. We're making the world a better place, easing our own loss and shock. As I experience loss in life, people and things, I'm affected by that naturally. I also have a simultaneous acceptance because I understand, again, that it's no ending at all. If anything, I'm curious, where did they go? Which are they going to? When my mother passed away and 49 days or so clicked by, and I'm thinking, well, it's about when she's going to be reincarnated. Where is she right now? Like, I'm this grown man and she's probably becoming a baby right now. This is a very healthy way to mourn, to understand the death experience, connecting with them as you study and learn and contemplate the meanings of death and what the options are, what can occur. It's unlikely that you are concerned about the loss of somebody that you figure is evil and crappy anyway. So you have to worry about that it's going to be a dark and negative experience. You're only concerned about the ones you love. I'm assuming people here are all pretty good. Who else would be here? So again, the comfort to be able to understand the death event and death experience we should all be curious about is beneficial. And in many ways, Cheryl, as you contemplate and do some research and study into the death event itself, because of coping with a loss of someone that you care about, the confusion of death, you're doing both. You're making peace with the loss, as well as educating yourself and progressing in your consciousness to be able to deal with the death event on your own. And listen, that's what every experience is for, right? I mean, everyone that I help and teach is in private students and in group classes here, I'm learning too. Again, as I prepare for this topic today, I've been reading my Tibetan Book of the Dead copy every night for the last several nights. And I hadn't read it in a long time. I had the opportunity because I have a responsibility to share this correct knowledge, the correct way with people that rely on me to be honest and sincere and not mislead them. I've got to put in the time. So I'm benefiting as well as I become more intimate with the knowledge that's there. That is primordial knowledge, not mundane knowledge, but primordial, eternal truths. Naturally, my son's a firefighter, so he's a very dangerous job. That's on my mind here and there. They're very safe, but I try to block all that out. But sure, that's something that's a concern. Like lose somebody that I love that's in a very dangerous job. My chow bang here, cat at my feet at the moment. I do not want to confront or face the loss of that friend in my life. He's such a close friend to me all the time. The coping mechanism is in understanding death, that the true loss and sorrow is my own loss and sorrow. It's not that person, that thing, or that pet. They're moving on. And again, through association, they are going to a so-called better place. They can, and if I help prepare myself, can take an active role in that. As I mentioned within the portal, in the Chow Chow Bang chapter, somewhere towards the end, I think actually, I talk about how he's been through this entire experience with me, this silent presence that kept me company through my whole ordeal. And I talk about that when he goes, I just want to spend some time with him, comfort him, and take him to a meditation room and be able to play kirtan, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, as he passed on to the other side. So his last thoughts are something that's divine and benevolent, comfort and love. This is critical. Again, I'm going to emphasize this again. I like redundancies for a point because some things need to be said and repeated and heard again and again and again before we take them in. What we think in our moments of death are major catalysts, what we'll experience in death experience and after. If we take in fear, confusion, loss, then that's what we're going to attach to, and that's what we're going to experience. We take in understanding, acceptance, love, eternality, rather than temporariness, something like that. Then that's what we're going to experience. They say you can't take it with you. Yes, you can, and you are. Everything you do and everything you're becoming, you're taking with you. It doesn't go away. Your soul is eternal. Your consciousness continues. Your mind, everything you acquire in your mind is getting stored in there somewhere within the Akashic space of your own consciousness. And so what you are, you're creating and taking with you. You can and do take it with you. Whether you constantly remembering in every lifetime or not is irrelevant. The fact is, it's conditioning you to be who you are. Some people are pretty shitty and some people are pretty good. So they're just kind of naturally that way. This is because that's the work they've done. That's what they've conditioned themselves to be. Let me see another message here. The topic death brought me here, a death that doesn't exist. Yeah, I feel that those entities are algorithms that connected to your personal brain. They're deceivers working within a prison system. Good point. Who is that said that? Heem, thank you. Heem, I saw that you connected earlier this morning too because of the time difference I get. Again, I'd love to have your email so I can contact you and keep the dialogue going. Indeed, this is what the books of the dead are explaining, is that what you're experiencing within the other side, within the portal, is illusions. That these representatives are representatives of the illusions. It's up to us to be able to differentiate and determine the difference so that we can choose the real over the false, the true over the false. Again, the death event is a very overwhelming experience. Death itself is no ending. I think pretty much everybody that's going to attend on these Saturday classes can accept that. But what is it going to be? And again, no matter how much we realize or accept that death is no ending, we're still going to have a little bit of a freak out. Listen, all these extreme sports players, well, I'm not afraid of death. They're jumping off of cliffs and bungee jumping and all this kind of crap, and look, I've been pretty extreme myself. They say, I'm not afraid of death. Well, that's funny because if someone's going to shoot you or you got a car coming at you, you're going to try to get out of the way. That's a natural survival instinct because we fear death, because we want to continue on. So if we didn't fear death at all, then we would say, well, yeah, cool, bring it on. I'm going to a better place. The active role, our attachments, again, the illusions that Heem is pointing out. Do we choose to be attached to the illusions of the Mayic, samsara, material reality, or do we choose to be attached to the divine eternal truths of reality? As I point out what the Vedas point out, there are many paths within the Eastern systems that talk about how Maya, samsara, is an illusion. The Vedas and Upanishads do not literally teach this. What they're teaching has been misconstrued is that your perceptions of Maya and the world are an illusion. The world itself is real. You cannot walk through walls and teleport within your physical confines just because you don't, and it's not just because you don't believe enough. The material world, the tangible physical world is real. It's not an illusion. The perceptions of it are the illusion. What you think about it as good or bad. There's no good or bad. It's only thinking that makes it so. Shakespeare. It's how we perceive it, how we're going to interact with it. What are you saying here? No divine purpose, there is no God. Okay, well, I'm going to disagree with you. He says, there is no divine purpose, there is no God. You're a particle of light that has to claim its divinity, and so you're contradicting yourself. You're saying there is no divine purpose, and yet you're saying that to claim its divinity and disconnect, you're charging a bigger sun's reality. It feasted on lies and deceptions. Well, that's very negative. I'm not going to respond much to that. There's a divine phenomena that is well beyond any dimension of the material phenomena. There are not multiple dimensions of divine phenomena. There's one. There's so many aspects of divine phenomena. This again taught within scriptural works. But there is divine phenomena. There is a God, and it is the soul's journey to have union with God, to have union with divinity, divine love. God is divine love. This is what is not an illusion. What the concept of Maya and samsara being an illusion is telling us is exactly that only divinity is real. It's only worthwhile. The only true dharma is spiritual dharma. Only true truth and righteousness is spiritual, nothing else. And as I am often contradicted or presented with people telling me that the material phenomenon is an illusion, I say, well, your awareness that doesn't seem to be keeping you from being locked in it. You still need to eat, you still need to sleep, you still need to drive a car and all these kind of things. So for it being an illusion, it seemed pretty darn real. And again, this concept that comes from the Eastern paths, they get misinterpreted. The actual wording within the Veda and Upanishads is telling you literally, the Vedas say themselves is where the concept comes from that it's an illusion. They're saying that your perceptions of it are an illusion, not the material phenomenon itself. It is real. Planets, physical things, you're real. It's genuine. What you perceive in it isn't real, good or bad. There is an objective reality and a subjective reality. Objective reality is real. It's what is. Subjective reality is what you think of it. Again, there is no good or bad. What's the quote? Shakespeare. But things are neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. I'm getting the quote wrong. How we perceive it. We can choose. I'm not suggesting we look at everything as good, nor should we look at it as everything bad, optimistic or pessimistic. Objective reality is what I'm always trying to go towards within my material phenomena. I want to know the truth. I want to know how things actually are. As I perceive things be bad on a certain day because it's hot out and I don't like heat, I realize and I adjust myself to thinking that, yeah, that's just your perception, Krishnan. That's just your perception. That's your personal preference. I don't like it hot. So let's someplace cool. It's important that we understand the difference. This place is an experiment gone wrong, or the light's been tricked by. I can't get too distracted by this. These are very subjective opinions. I'm not gonna debate with this. Again, the subjective versus objective reality. Objective reality is it's just say 98 degrees. Subjective reality is it's hot. For me, it's uncomfortable. The fact is, whatever temperature it is, that's the reality. That's the objective truth. That's existing. That's real. That's not an illusion. The illusion is what I perceive it. And again, one other person is like, oh, I love it. It's 98 degrees. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to stay inside when I want to hide. And again, and when it's 40 degrees, I'm like, I'm putting on some shorts and go take a walk. Like it's a great day to be outside. It's a beautiful sky. It's a nice, cool temperature. I don't have to sweat. I'm loving it. And somebody else, like, I hate this. Like, I got to bundle up. I want to stay inside. Let's make sure we know the difference. preparing for the death event and the afterlife is just that, to be able to understand the difference so that we can perceive it, so we can be involved with it, so that we're not hoodwinked by our own perceptions. We can see the objective truth. Indeed, part of what the books of the dead are preparing us for, both the Egyptian, the Tibetan, as well as the Shraddha, which I haven't got a copy of yet, is that indeed there are illusory, misleading agents, concepts, and visuals that you're going to experience when you go there. The point of the books is to prepare you for this so that you know which is fake and which is real, to not be deluded by the ones that are illusory, and be drawn to and strive towards and follow the ones that are correct. The deeper layers of the Buddhist path teach about, which is described within the portal briefly, that there are many Buddhas. I don't know why I'm air quoting it. That's a real thing. Many Buddhas that, hi Lori, nice to have you. Many Buddhas that exist within the after realm. The green Buddha, the white Buddha, the red Buddha. These colors are not literal necessarily. They represent a particular quality of the Buddha. And what they're saying is that when you die and go to the other side, that these Buddhas are there to guide you. They're your personal guides when you get there, to take you to where you can go. But it's up to you to follow them. They're explaining that whatever time you're spent within this particular dimension, whether it's a sparkling, good, shiny, happy celestial one, or a less than happy celestial one, or a darker, hellish type, that the Buddhas are there because God is always giving you, God is always grace and love, and always giving you the opportunity to change and shift and go towards the light and go towards something good and beautiful. The Buddhas are there to maintain dharma, truth, objectivity, and guide you to be able to handle it properly. Again, I think what this gentleman is pointing out is relevant to that extent, that we need to be cautious, especially in our online, YouTube, Twitter, social media world. It's hard to differentiate between the true and the false when we don't know it. Cult leaders and some religious leaders that become cult leaders, that are, anyway, cult leaders, they often seem very intelligent and rational, and that's why they get that's why they get away with what they're doing, because they seem very rational, make sense, and sensible. They speak while they articulate, and yet what they're giving is false. We need to develop our own intellect, our own spirit consciousness, to be able to differentiate between the two. These books, the Upanishads and the other scriptural texts from all of the actual authentic religions, provide us this, give us access to this. To interpret them and understand them is another story. Hold on one second. Let me close this for a moment because I'm getting very distracted by that. So I'm going to close the chat for a moment. Let me ask you directly, so I give a chance for any specific questions. Okay. I want to make sure that I stay on the topic of the books themselves. Again, in many ways, as I've been diving back into these books that I've not read since before my death event, which is then I had some memory loss for a while. And of course, I read a lot of books, so I don't always retain all of it. It's a new enlightening experience. I'm swept up in the cerebral beauty. I like that. That's a new phrase I just coined this moment because it describes what I'm experiencing. As I'm reading the Book of the Dead, I'm experiencing cerebral beauty. Cerebral because it's very intellectual, it's very scientific, and yet it's explaining these wondrous things, wondrous concepts in imaginary, in image, imagery ways. It's evoking my imagination and visuals. It's a wonderful experience. And again, what's taking place is that I don't fear dying to begin with. I fear living. I don't want to keep living and going on and on and on for eternity as a human being or an animal or anything else. I want to be done. I want to be one with the divine. That's always been my goal. And as I revisit and take these tours through the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which I'm enjoying so much again, that it's reminding me, reassuring, and as in again, reminding and reassuring me that it's not just that death is not an ending, but that I can prepare, that I can get to know it and take a very active role in my experience with it and make it beautiful. We always, again, have free will. We are endowed with this powerful essence within us, a free will to choose. What will we choose? What are we going to click on our algorithms, on our YouTube algorithms? By the way, I get two feeds. When I'm online with my YouTube channel as Krishnan within the portal, it gives me a completely different set of feeds. When I'm Scott's Back You Life Mind, it gives me a whole bunch of worldly stuff. Depends on my mood, whatever I'm going to go with. I encourage to spend time with these books of the dead. And again, I gave you one that I can recommend. When I find a good Egyptian book of the dead, if I find, which I don't think that I will, I'll recommend that too. And when and if, which I will find, the Shraddha, the Sanatan Dharma Hindu Book of the Dead, I will share that as well. That's my mission right now. I'm on a hot pursuit of that. My hot pursuit in this vein usually pays off. I eventually find the right one. It'll get there. If it exists, I'll find it. And I'm having a hard time. And again, some of my books that are in my personal library that are in English, I had to go to India to get. And they're in a very remote, beautiful bookstore that I have in Vrindavan that you got upstairs. All right. It's like a really kind of a special place that I love very much, that it's impossible to find these particular books that are translated in English that are good translations. Again, knocking you shall find. Seeking you shall find. Knocking it shall be open to you. Not sit on your ass and wait for it, but put in the work. I am dead set and determined to find the Shraddha. I want to read the Sanatan Dharma Hindu Book of the Dead. I already know that it is the source of the other ones because it comes first. So I want to see what it says, and that's kind of why I'm having a hard time finding it. It's always easier to find the newer ones. Technically, Tibetan Book of the Dead is relatively modern. I think it's was composed and produced in the 15th, 16th century, right? And that's not very ancient, primordial. But the concepts and the content cannot be placed as far as the time is concerned. I encourage you to spend time with these. Again, for the various reasons. It's wonderfully fun to experience and interact with something so cerebral and yet beautiful, explaining such deep concepts in such an eloquent way. It won't compromise nor challenge any of your existing beliefs. You can either just enjoy it or accept some of them, or it will embellish and enhance the ones that you have. I'm learning new things. Again, as I started diving back into the book this week to prepare for today's talk, one of the first things I realized within night two, first of all, one thing is that I typically would go to bed around 9:30, 9:45 because so I can read a little before I go to sleep around 10, which is when I kind of actually fall asleep. And I find myself, as I pick up the Tibetan Book of the Dead, going to bed a little bit earlier. I want to get to my book. I want to go spend some time there, right? That, again, what I realized very quickly is that while I may be somewhat prepared for this talk, on some levels. There's so much more that I want to know before I fully present on it. I'm getting to my next section of the book is the different realms, the very separate dimensions that you're going to get. I'm preparing for all that in the first parts of it, telling you what it is and how it is. Now I'm getting to that. I'm fascinated to see what's going to be, what I'm going to see there. Let's all of us try to do just that. As I mentioned earlier, that I'm so grateful for the diversity of this group that I have. These people that we have, people from Catholic backgrounds, and me from an Eastern background, that I came from Christian backgrounds as well. We have such a diversity that we can enhance our knowledge, that we get to participate in these wide spectrums. And we can honor this because at the core of all of them, every one of them is so different. At the core is the exact same. Well, again, what I'm so often doing here is I'm trying to show what they have in common, not what they have in differences. And every religion and every path has that one central thing in common: divine love. Let's take an active role in this. Hold on one second. Again, an opportunity for any questions or comments. Not just questions, but if anybody has any comments. Let me check on the chat here. See a little bit there. I want to elaborate for a moment, if I may, on some of the. Yeah, this is with a reading that I was doing recently, it became a very prominent topic as I was doing someone's reading recently as well, that in this age, Kali Yuga age, we have a tendency to be very cerebral in our spiritual pursuits. I'm a knowledge junkie. Have been all my life, reading since I was 4, been consuming books all my life, and I can never know enough. I get off on it. I really get off on it. I'm an addict. I'm a knowledge junkie. We got to be careful of this. What I often am doing in my readings and in my private coaching and teaching classes is reminding people to develop an emotional connection with your spiritual path, not just the cerebral. We need knowledge, gyan. We need knowledge. We need to understand what it is, how it works, and why. Because this enhances our commitment and our passion to it. The more we understand how it works and why, the more motivated we are to get something out of it and apply ourselves to it. But therein lies the key component: application. Knowledge without application is a waste of time. Only when we apply that knowledge can we actually progress and grow, to prepare for afterlife, this life, etc. By applying it, a beautiful thing occurs. So many of us worry that we may be gaining the knowledge, but we're not feeling it. And I work with people all the time that are saying, well, I'm not, when do I start feeling? When do I start like emotionally connecting and feeling God's presence? And I say, keep going, keep doing the practice, keep showing up, keep applying the knowledge you have, and do that with your heart in the sense that I don't have it and I want it. I don't know what it is, but I want it. Eventually, with God's grace, and when I say with, it's not a condition. God's grace is imbued within the knowledge and the applications. So when you do it, it begins to connect you with God's grace, or with the power of grace, which is the conduit that connects you to the spiritual experience, the emotional content, an aspect of it. So the knowledge becomes emotional with God's grace. Eventually, there's the emotions. eventually the knowledge doesn't matter at all. I still totally enjoy and have my evenings where I'm reading and studying, and I'm just like getting off on the intellect part. And I'm so blessed, realizing like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I'm smart. I was gifted with good intellect, so I could follow these things and really appreciate them, because I am kind of a junkie and I get off on it. But other times, my intellect is completely shut down, and I am just pure emotion. All I can do is feel, to the point where it's paralyzing. Experience a state of ecstasy. And I don't give a shit about the knowledge. I don't even care. It doesn't even matter to me. It's not even on my radar. I'm completely immersed in an emotional state of just surrender and love. And that's that conduit of grace. When you love, it's not that that's when God loves you. God loves you all the time. God loves omnipresent, omniscient. The difference is when you tune into it is when you can experience and feel it. When you give your emotion, you get the emotion. I'm always encouraging people with both. Occasionally, I meet someone that has plenty of emotional capacity, but not enough of the knowledge. And I'm trying to help them to adjust, to put the right things in practice so they can direct the emotion properly. Most times, it's the opposite. Most people are more intellectually driven, and they need to add the emotional part in. This is what mystery is all about. This is the beauty of mystery. And as I encourage you to read the books of the dead that demystify the death event and the death experience, it's not incomplete and entire. You can never demystify it entirely. There'll always be levels and dimensions that you don't know and can't understand. And the mystery is not to prevent you from knowing. The mystery is to draw you in even more. It's seductive. It makes you want to know more and connect more. God's mystery is simply an invitation. Simply, God already knows that we're all curious. God remains mysterious. Divine love remains mysterious simply because when we're curious about something, we go towards it rather than away. We're going to put more time, more effort. That is satsang. That's divine, that's spiritual association. In the material world, we experience this often with loved ones. We see a picture or see something about them that reminds us of this person. My son sent me a little video of I won't go into it. He's on a fire job. He's on a fire, and this plane going overhead that's dropping all these chemicals on the fire. And it was mind blowing. All the kids are like, "Wow!" Right? That is remembrance. That message stimulates and activates my remembrance of him. For those few minutes, he and I are connected, right? He's always existing in his own space. I'm always existing in mine, but this connects us, unites us, right? That's why we share. Divinity does the same thing, makes herself accessible to us through various forms: knowledge, practice, song, celebration, dance, love, whatever. The knowledge is a means to experience the emotional. And as I often repeat the phrase, in the beginning, you do your sadhana. In the end, sadhana is all you do. In the beginning, you make the time, the effort, the discipline, the connection. You motivate yourself. You force yourself to do your spiritual duties, to do your spiritual practices. And in the end, over time, becomes a new normal, becomes natural. I don't have to try to do so much anymore. It's there all the time. This again is the union and connection, remembrance, associating with these books and processes of death. We're connected to a direct path to divinity because the concept of it, even though death itself is not a guaranteed divine experience, and what we're going to experience afterwards is not guaranteed either, by studying it, by associating, by contemplating it, the death event, death experience, before, here, during, and after. We're associating. We are in our own remote way, we are thinking of divinity. And any way you think of divinity is good. I shared once before that I asked my Swami teacher once, I'm like, okay, so how do I, he's telling me, think about God and Guru all the time. That should become God realized. Do it all the time. When your whole mind is absorbing God in the concept of God all the time, that should become God realized. 100%. Not 99.999, but 100%. I'm like, I can't do that. Okay, so I said, how can I think about God when I don't know what to think about? I don't know what he looks like. I mean, what do I think about? I said, think about that. Think about what you don't know. Which caused me to think about what I want to know. By thinking about what I did not know, all that was me thinking about what I want to know. And that is longing. I felt a painful longing when I tried to think about God and realized that I didn't know what to think. Painful longing that I wanted to know. And that longing was so huge, so massive, it could consume me. And that is what activates God's grace in your mind and in your heart, is longing. So my Swami teacher said to me, just think about that. Think about what you don't know. Think about how you want to know. And when I said, well, how do I do that all the time? The world's constantly interrupting me. I got all these stuff. I got clients. I'm a counselor, but people call me all the time with their problems. I got to give them attention. He says, and I'm thinking he's going to give me some big, profound, deep, sage-like answer. And he says, you got a phone, don't you? And I said, yeah. Now he's speaking in a very accented vernacular. He's got his very thick Hindi accent. And he says to me, you got a phone, don't you? And I said, yes. And I pick it up. And he says, okay, set your alarm to go off every 25 minutes. I'm like, okay. He said, what? But then he says, when your alarm goes off, think about God, think about Guru. I'm like, that's it? He goes, what do I think about? He goes, whatever you want. And I'm like, okay, he's my Swami teacher. He's representing my Guru. So I'm just, whatever he says, I'm going to do. No questions asked. Whatever he says, I'm just going to do it. Right. And I'm thinking like, I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know, but it's what he told me to do. So I'm going to do it. Sure enough, I'm in my office the next day, counseling, involved with a deep conversation with clients. And my alarm's going off every 22 minutes. And I'm like, sorry, it's kind of interrupting me. Right. Eventually I'm getting annoyed. So when I'm by myself, it's going off. I'm like, okay, think about God and Guru. What do I think about? I don't know. Just think about it. Think about what I don't know what to think. And what's going on when I'm at work and I'm doing things, I'm kind of annoyed. I'm irritated. I'm like, oh, sorry, Over time, a magical thing happened. Didn't need the alarm going off anymore at all. God and Guru were coming to mind all the time. I was conditioned. I've been brainwashed. I've been conditioned, programmed. I did it for so long, few weeks, that eventually, even when it wasn't going off, I'm thinking about them all the time. I was trained, conditioned to do it. What you think about is not very relevant. Ideally, you want to think of with loving thoughts, but the fact that you think about them at all is paramount. It had an effect to this day. This was 20 years ago when he told me this. Had an effect. To this day, I don't need the alarm going off. I'm doing something like making a sandwich or working on my desk or whatever, taking a walk, whatever, and out of nowhere, God and Guru just come to mind, right? I'm thinking about all kinds of random thoughts and this and that, and it's like I'm having an ongoing dialogue with them. It's like they're with me on my walk. We're just hanging out, This is a little trick and a tool that we can use. Again, exemplifying, in the beginning, we do our sadhana, and in the end, sadhana is all we do. In the beginning, I set the alarm and made myself divert my thought. And in the end, it just was happening naturally. as the Buddha said, what we think we become. And as I teach people clinically, all behaviors are formed through repetition and association. You do something again and again and again, and you associate with something as something good, and it programs your mind to do this over and over and over. It's up to you whether it's going to be good or bad. You want to do drugs through repetition and association, then that's what you're going to be addicted to. You can choose what to be addicted to, as I mentioned earlier. Becomes a new normal. Associate with your spiritual progress in any way that you can. Books of the Dead are one more profound and deep and exciting way to do so. Demystifying. The death event is demystifying the life event. You cannot separate them. And this is what the Books of the Dead are reminding us, that you cannot separate death from life. It's happening. Not gonna happen. It's happening. We're all dying. From the moment you're born, you're going towards death. And again, if you simply conclude that, well, death is no ending, so what do I got to worry about? See, I realized that early on too. But instead of saying, what do I got to worry about? I was like, well, I don't need to worry a lot, because death is no end. This goes on and on and on and on. So instead of having nothing to worry about, I got more to worry about, because I got to prepare for that. What's going to happen afterwards? I start to wrap up on that thought that it's going to happen with all of us. We've all done it infinite times. We could do it infinite more times. I don't want to. I don't want to ever again. Not because death is bad. Death is easy. Death is easy. I assure you. I've been there and I remember it. It was kind of pleasant, nice, right? Pretty peaceful, pretty calm. Guides are there, agents are there, your presence are there. You have clear consciousness. It's really beautiful. And then it ends. You got to come back to something. Heaven, hell, material, earth, whatever. You can't stay there. As I shared with earlier in this book, they're saying, well, you can't stay here. You haven't completed your soul's journey. Till you're done, you got to keep going back to one of the dimensions. So it ain't death that I fear. It's that death ain't no ending. There's an ending. If you go to a better place, well, count me in. Let's go. Let's do it. Prepare for death by the way you live your life. Prepare for death with the concept of the afterlife and what's taking place afterwards. What do you want? Where do you want to go? Work towards it. Invest your time, your mind, your heart. I'll leave you with this thought. If all of them agree, Western and Eastern spiritual paths and religions, all of them agree that what you attach your mind to is what you're going to attain. Your final thoughts of death are preeminent, prominent to what you're going to experience afterwards. I want my final thoughts at death to be a divine love, not fear, concern, attachments. I want my final thoughts to simply be surrender, to serve divine love, to just be near her, just be close, any way that I can. When I was flipping around upside down in a car several years before my death experience, and I'm in the air, twirling around as I'm flying through the air, and I'm like, you can see there's a lot of thoughts in a split second in those moments. And I'm like, this is going to be bad. Like, I'm going to land and I'm going to either go to a hospital or not. I'm going to die. But whatever's about to happen in the next split second is going to be very, very bad. It's going to change my life. This is going to be changing in an instant. I didn't have time or luxury to think about God and divine love. And yet, as I'm having all these thoughts in the split second, it took me to spin 3.5 times in the air and land upside down in my car. I did. Had all these thoughts. I'm thinking, well, if this is the end, I better divert my mind to God right now. Don't be thinking about landing upside down and going to the hospital. Better think about God right now, because this is likely going to be the end right now. And I did. And I was kind of smiling. I was like, ain't this a trip? Like, look at all the thoughts I'm having as I'm going through the air. Literally just going through my head. Literally, one of the things I was thinking was like, in this wild, like, look at all the things I'm thinking while this is happening. I was mesmerized by that. All these complete thoughts in probably less than a second. And was able to consciously choose to think about divinity and to think about God. And I wasn't afraid. I was kind of smiling at it. I was like, ain't this a trip? You know? What we're going to attach our mind to in our final moments is what we condition our mind to attach to in our living moments. How you live is how you die. Right? Any questions or comments? Anybody?
Yes.
Yes, Barb.
And I've said this before, and it applies to this talk as well. I'm not surprised. It's not totally new. And then you summed it up yourself by saying that no matter which path you're following, the words might be different, the ideas might be a little different, but the concept is the same. So I'm good.
Right. And again, there's this relief that you feel. Again, it's not death that we need to be afraid of. And it's not just the afterlife. It's where we're going to go. What are we going to do? I'm glad that I'm worried about where I go afterwards, because it helps me, assists me, concerns me with every moment of the way I'm living. I want to live properly. I want to live correctly. I want to live in God's service. I will never, ever, ever be worthy of God's love or grace. Nothing. But I want to try. And I want my divine parent to look at me the same way that I would look at my child and say, you know what? He's trying. I'm going to put that little picture on the refrigerator because it's cute and he tried. It may not be that great of a picture, but I'm going to put that on the refrigerator because that's my child and he did it. You know? God grades us on our effort and our intention, not our actual action, and our results. We can never be worthy of God's grace. Understanding that makes us slightly more worthy of God's grace. I just want in that final moment to be able to say, well, I know I'm not worthy. I know I screwed up, but I want to be able to look at me and say, well, you gave it a good try and I'm proud of you for that. That's all I can do. Again, the books of the dead, I will update you as soon as I can on the Egyptian Book of the Dead when I find one, if I find, which I don't think I will, and the Shraddha, which I'm convinced I will find. I'm going to relentlessly keep pursuing until I do. I've only given it a little bit of effort so far. I'm allowing myself to get through the entire Tibetan Book of the Dead, because I know that once the Shraddha shows up, then I'll be reading both at the same time, and I probably should do one at a time now. I used to do 2-3 books at a time. Now I do one. I want to continue this topic. I want to say this. If you could, please, if you haven't, I don't know how everybody found me here again. Include your email so I can send you the invite. I'm not getting hammered by emails. I don't do that. I don't sell them off. I don't do anything like that. It's just a weekly invite to join this discussion if you want to, what the topics are, so you can join if you like, if you want to come. They're always free and all are welcome. And everyone that can come is always beneficial for everybody else. And next week, I'm having a very special opportunity. Prying open your third eye. I'm preparing for this for a while. I'm promoting this as a workshop. We're going to do it on Thursday evening and again on Saturday morning. So 2 opportunities to attend. Because some people can't make it on a weekend, some people can't make it on a weeknight. So I'm going to do same workshop twice. And when I say same, it's not scripted. Again, I'm always kind of off the cuff. It's going to be different both times if you want to attend both. prying open your third eye. We're going to explore and discuss how to activate your third eye consciousness, your spiritual consciousness, your mystical consciousness, to be able to intuit what is there and how to activate it and how to do it safely and responsibly, which is very important. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I encourage you all to be there. Again, even if you come to both, you're going to get different stuff because I don't script these kind of things. Now, again, that's Thursday evening and Friday. I mean, it's Thursday evening and Saturday morning. Prying open your third eye. Please feel free to email me kind of with any question you might have or topics and suggestions. What I'm thinking about after that, since I've already announced that, I've already been promoting that as a workshop. We'll see if I get any turnouts or not. I'm thinking I'd like to do a couple more on this Books of the Dead topic. I think it can be more refined. I think as I continue, within a couple of weeks, I'll have Tibetan Book of the Dead book done again, and I'll have the Shraddha, and I'll have a lot more to elaborate in very profound ways, I'm sure. Okay, see, this thing is putting up like my hand. Why is it, I'm not doing that. No, it's lower hand. Okay, wait. I really enjoyed today and look forward to your blessing. Thank you, Cheryl. We've enjoyed your presence here too. Thank you. And everybody else that's here. And Heath, thank you for your comments. Oh, I'm sorry, Heem. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for everybody being here. Again, I always appreciate the diversity that we have. And let's again continue to respect me mindful of the fact that all of them at their core are the same. Divine love, right? Let's go forward with that. I will see you all soon. Again, thank you for coming. And any more last questions or comments?
Yeah, in essence, what you were saying is the same quote I used at Shawshank Redemption. We only, once we're born, we have to either get busy living or get busy dying.
Get busy dying.
So the
That's
choice.
right.
Choose.
Right. And that movie, which Stephen King's best stuff was his non-horror stuff, right? Brilliant writer. And so, and of course, we have a spin on that. So what that quote is actually referring to is you can either choose to live or you can choose to die. In other words, you better learn to live. And so, and again, now we're spinning it to a deeper context to get busy living or get busy dying. And I'm saying get busy with living and get busy with dying, right? Get involved with the process, interact with it in a beautiful way. It's a beautiful experience. And so again, get involved with it. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and disconnect. Everybody, again, thank you for being here. Nice seeing you, Cheryl. You were here
Bye,
all the
everybody.
time. I wasn't sure it was the same one, so we didn't put it together. Thank you. How did you type all that? I didn't even see you move. You typing an answer right now?
See ya.
All right. Thank you, Lori.
Bye now.
All right. I'm going to disconnect now.